Hey everyone, here's a quick video on how to most effectively cast your vote for the presidential primary ballot in 2020 in New York. My name is Casey Hankins. I'm a Staten Island resident. I'm a proud public school teacher and a proud UF team member in Gravesend, Brooklyn, also in New York 11. I'm president of the Staten Island Young Democrats, and I am a candidate to be the delegate to the DNC for Elizabeth Warren in New York 11. The purpose of this video is to explain how the delegate selection process will work for the June 23rd New York primary and to help you formulate a logical approach to casting your ballot for DNC delegates in the New York primary in your district. I will use New York 11, where Representative Max Rose is our Congress member, as my example, as it is my home and where I'm on the ballot. All of the rules for this can be found in this document. I just tried to make it a little bit more easy for everyone to understand in a quick video. So first and foremost, congratulations Joe Biden on being the presumptive nominee for president, or for the Democratic nomination for President of the United States. So we know that the nominee is going to be Biden, irrelevant of the outcome in New York. So this is a unique opportunity where our vote for presidential candidate will not impact who the nominee is, but it will more importantly impact which candidates get delegates to the DNC. So your vote for the presidential nominee is how you will influence which candidates get delegates to the DNC. These delegates will have voting power and influence over the Democratic Party platform. So, first and foremost, the ballot. There will be 11 2020 Democratic presidential primary candidates. You will vote for one of them. Then, you will vote for 6 pledged delegate candidates for your district. So these are people who have pledged to support a certain presidential candidate to represent your district. Two things. One is the number 6 is different for all the different districts. It's somewhere between like 6 and 8, I believe, for each district. I could be wrong about that. And it's important to remember that each district had to get their delegate candidates on the ballot. So, only Buttigieg, Biden, Sanders, Warren, and Yang were able to petition to get their delegates on the ballot in New York 11. Please remember this may be different for your district. So first we will all cast one vote for the presidential nominee. Whoever gets the most votes will win the Democratic primary for New York, but what matters for the delegates in your district is really the outcomes in your individual district. So each district will have its own results. In order for any presidential candidate to get any delegates, they must clear 15% of the vote in that district. Then, of the candidates to reach 15% of the vote, the delegates are proportionally assigned, alternating by gender as identified on the ballot. I'll get more into that in a moment. So there's a lot here. So we're going to do a little bit of quick math, and then we're going to go through the logic of how you could most appropriately cast your ballot. So, hypothetical results. We have a bunch of candidates. Only 4 of them cleared the threshold of 15% to earn delegates to the DNC. Amy Klobuchar, Joe Biden, Bernie Sanders, and Elizabeth Warren. In my hypothetical situation. That is very biased. So, of these people, there's a total of 81% here. So we're kind of shaving off these other candidates that didn't make it, and we're down to just 81% of the vote. And now we're going to proportionally break down, figure out the proportion of that 81% each of these candidates received. Then we're going to multiply by 6 to get the expected number of delegates. But obviously, you can't send 2.148 people to represent Joe Biden. So what they do is they chop off the decimals, and then at the end of the process, the party chair can assign the remaining delegate. So if you count here, there's only 5 here. The party chair would assign the remaining delegate. Typically, they're going to assign it to the winner of the primary, or they could assign it to the person who got closest. In this case, I'm going to just say, let's say the party chair gave it to Bernie Sanders. So now we have 1 delegate for Amy Klobuchar, 2 for Biden, 2 for Sanders, and 1 for Warren. So hooray! We know how many delegates are going to the DNC per candidate. But we didn't actually vote for any delegates yet. So the delegates selected are based upon the presidential nominee vote. So this is very important. If a candidate doesn't clear that 15% threshold, no matter how many votes their delegates get, they are not going to the DNC. So the first delegate chosen will be the delegate from whichever presidential candidate received the most votes in the district. So it's the top scoring person for the top scoring presidential candidate. So this, and remember, this only applies to New York 11 in our hypothetical example. Before I begin on the process, gender parity is something that must be maintained throughout the delegate selection process. Each district must have an even number of male and female delegates, or as close as possible. We will alternate throughout the selection process, and at no time throughout the selection process will there be more than one difference between the male and female delegate count. Something really cool is in 2019, the New York State Democratic Party passed a resolution proposed by Amelia Decaudin, allowing gender nonconforming individuals to be on the ballot. So they are able to be on the ballot with their identity and not be put into a bucket that they don't identify with. And these candidates are just not included in the count of male or female throughout the selection process. You can read more about it at this link. So first up, Biden. He won. He got the most votes. He got 29% of the vote. He got earned 2 delegates. So let's suppose that the highest scoring person is identified as female. The next delegate from Biden would be the highest scoring male. Even if a female, the top 2 for Biden are female, his second delegate has to be his highest scoring male to maintain gender parity. Next up, Bernie. First, Bernie's highest scoring person will be selected. This is whoever his highest scoring person is. Let's say this person is female. Next, Bernie's highest scoring male will be selected, even if there is a female that received more votes than them, because we must maintain gender parity. Next, we get to Warren. So notice here we have 2 male and 2 females by the time we got to Warren's person. So Warren's person can be her highest scoring delegate. Let's say that person was male. The last delegate would be Amy Klobuchar's delegate, and that must be the highest scoring female identified, because then we would get to the balance, the gender ratio, 3-3. It's important to note, Amy Klobuchar's delegates are not on the ballot, so she would have a delegate appointed to her from the state party in her campaign. So what this means is each delegate is not in competition with the delegates on other slates. Each delegate is in competition with the people who are on their candidate's slate. Because Warren's delegate will be Warren's highest scoring person. Even if all of her people outscored all of Joe Biden's delegates, although that's an unlikely scenario, if that were to happen, it wouldn't matter, because in our scenario, Joe Biden earned the top 2 delegate spots. So if you vote for all 6 of one candidate's delegates, your vote will not actually influence the delegate selection process. Instead, you should try to differentiate the delegates you like in each candidate's slate. So questions you should ask yourself when choosing who to vote for as a Dem presidential nominee. My first question would be, which candidates do I think can clear the 15% vote in my district? And remember, my district, Staten Island and South Brooklyn, might be very different than a district up by Albany. And then, which of these candidates do I most align with? So for example, someone who really might align with Andrew Yang, but does not believe he'll get the 15% of the vote, they might vote for Bernie Sanders to increase his chances of getting more delegates to the DNC. While I do not believe any vote is wasted, I want to make that very clear. If your presidential primary vote is cast for a candidate who does not meet the 15% threshold in your district, then your vote does not help get any candidates to a top spot at the DNC. So while you may believe in someone a lot, but mathematically it's very unlikely, you may choose to have a different vote based on the most impact. Personally, I cast my vote based upon impact. So then, questions you should ask yourself when choosing which 6 delegates to vote for. I would ask myself again, which candidates do I see clearing the 15% mark? I would get a list of those, of which I think will clear. And then how many delegates do I think each candidate will get? And then only of these candidates, which of their delegates do I want to see represent my district in the DNC? Again, if you vote for any delegates whose candidate does not meet 15% threshold, that delegate will not go, even if they get the most votes in the entire district. So, again, going back to the idea of thinking about how impactful our votes can be. And again, I want to say that if you do vote for all 6 of one delegate or one candidate's delegates, you are not actually differentiating any of them, so you're not actually impacting the delegate selection process. So my personal strategy for voting, I will be voting for 2 delegates for each Warren, Biden, and Bernie Sanders, 1 male identifying and 1 female identifying for each candidate. I'm doing this because I suspect that Bernie and Biden will clear 2 delegates each, and I'm optimistic that Warren will get 1 delegate. And I want to vote for my friends on the Warren slate who petitioned with me. I will be honest that I am excited to cast votes for people who are my friends on the Warren slate. And by voting for 1 male and 1 female, I am differentiating 1 person identified as each gender for the candidates I believe will be sending delegates to the DNC. This is my strategy for having the most impactful vote. Some other things to consider. How can we create a diverse set of delegates that represent New York 11 Democrats? And is there anyone on the ballot that you really want to give a +1 to? Good friends, family, activists you believe in. Like, I am personally really excited to share a ballot with so many amazing people, like so many amazing delegate candidates, not to mention, of course, presidential primary candidates, but some of the delegate candidates are local leaders that I have believed in for very long, and to see my name next to them is a big deal to me. So I hope you all will take advantage of this moment to have your voice heard in the most impactful way possible. If you have any questions, please feel free to reach out to me. I want you all to remember that big structural change is only going to come through a transparent process, and I really hope that this video helps you do that. And this is from a moment that I made heart hands at Elizabeth Warren at a rally, and she gave me some love back. And lastly, I hope you all will vote for the Democratic nominee on November 3rd, who is almost certainly going to be VP Joe Biden, although we don't know until we get to the convention. Thank you so much, and please reach out if you need anything.